Hello and welcome to this Scriptcase by Jamie channel right here on YouTube. Now soon we will be launching also to various other channels, so do keep an eye out for that because maybe you will have some on-demand webinars as well as more content coming your way. And if you haven't signed up yet to the social channels that I have here, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, as well as Facebook, then do be sure to sign up and register, follow me, and there you have my handle at ScriptcaseByJamie, and you will find me pretty much everywhere now, not only on the official Scriptcase channel, but also here on my new channel, Scriptcase by Jamie. Okay, so today I have a very special video for you, and it basically comes in the form of a nice new license key, which Scriptcase has been so kind to provide me. Of course, I reached out to one of my contacts and asked very nicely if there was any chance I could have a clean license key for my channel. And of course, I say they were absolutely so kind, and I have a new license today. So for today's video, I will be downloading a new version of Scriptcase and installing it side by side with some of my other installations, because I actually have a few installations available. Okay, so now here if I come to the scriptcase.net website, from here I can go ahead and download Scriptcase. But before I do so, let's just have a quick look at some of the information here. For Scriptcase, it supports all of these various databases, as well as we can create PHP systems. It has languages, a universe of possibilities, and of course we can work on it wherever we are with the right setup. We have down the bottom here also various development environments that are available or possible, and I can tell you it works very, very well, and especially if you are working in a large team with multiple developers, Scriptcase is just really, really great. Okay, so we have lots of information here on the website, but really let's just get cracking and start to download the latest version that we have here on the website. And I will be downloading it here for Windows 64-bit, and I can just click that button there, and then I will add any sort of email address in here. Usually I always go with santa@claws.com and then go next. Now I can add my details in here. Now this is quite a new option because I do not remember having this option before. So I will go ahead and fill in some random details here. 201 555 254, because I have no idea about a telephone number. And personally, I'm not too comfortable in sharing that. So let's see. So Christmas is the company name. No, there's no need to contact me. I'm in enough contact. Okay, so then I am downloading Scriptcase, and of course I receive here my little window to save it as, and then I can save it into a location. You can see here it's actually giving me here the number 1 in brackets because I already have, as you see right here, a copy available already. So I just click save, and then the browser will go ahead and download the latest version for me. Okay, so let's get started with the installation. So I will click the setup exe, or the downloaded file, however you want to put it, and that will of course start up the Scriptcase installation. So from here I can choose then the language that I want to have installed, and I have here German, English, Spanish, French, Italian, Japanese even, Brazilian Portuguese, Russian, simplified Chinese, as well as traditional Chinese. So we do have a few languages there to choose from, and I would imagine that they are the most commonly used languages. So I will go ahead and choose English, as that is, I would say, my native language, but that would be a lie because that would in fact be German. Okay, so once I have done that, I then receive a message telling me that my antivirus software is running and that I could get some errors during the installation process. Now it tells me here to disable it before running. I am not going to do that, and I doubt very much many people would do. Now, in some cases, you may have to, but so far I have not experienced any issues with installing it with the antivirus software running. Of course, it will highly depend on your setup, as in the operating system, the firewall, the restrictions you have, because if you are working within a company environment, well, then you would not be able to change the wallpaper like I can and put something nice there, for instance. Maybe you are entirely locked out and can only achieve so much. In such cases, maybe even installing alone could be an issue, in which case, of course, you will have to contact your administrator. Yes, I feel sorry for you. Okay, so to continue with the setup, we have here, first of all, the welcome screen saying, welcome to Scriptcase 9 with PHP 8.1, and this is the setup wizard. So I will go ahead and click next, and then we have here the license agreement. Of course, it is always a good idea to read what it says. Okay, so having a small window here for myself is not such a great thing, because yes, I do also read them sometimes. In this case, I'm not going to, because I think I have read it a few times before in the past already. Okay, so I will go ahead and accept the agreement. If I do not accept, the installation will cease, and of course it will not continue. And I want to install Scriptcase. So I will choose here to accept the agreement and click next. Next up, we can then choose the installation directory. So here we have then the default path, program files on your C drive, inside of a netmake folder, and then the version of the Scriptcase that you are installing. So in this case, it is version 9-PHP 8.1, and I know straight away that will cause me issues because that is already available. So what I will do is then adjust here the name to V9, and I'll just call it sample for now, and then go next. So next up, we can then choose the port on which we want to have Scriptcase running. And typically it would be 8091, but I have here 8092 because I already am using the 8091, and for the other two installations I'm using the 9000 ports. So then we also have here the administrator email address. Okay, so I will actually add this in here now. So help@jamieoates.com. Okay, and that way, if there are any issues within Scriptcase or updates and so forth that, of course, I apply and so forth, then Scriptcase also emails me, which is really cool. Okay, so then we have here the Apache domain, and that would typically choose then the domain name that you have set with your computer. So in my case, it is the name of my computer. And then below that here, we have the PHP time zone. So here I will choose Europe and Lisbon because I am in Portugal. And if I choose Lisbon, it will set the correct PHP time zone for me. And then go next. And then it says now it's ready to set up and begin with the installation. So again, I will click next, and Scriptcase will then go ahead and start to install the development environment for me. Okay, so it will take a few moments before it has completely unpacked and installed. On average, I would probably think around 3 minutes or so. It doesn't take that long, but of course, you have to remember there are a ton of files here that Scriptcase includes, as well as server setups for the Apache server, for instance, which Scriptcase uses for the development environment. Okay, so while that is going, what I will do is I will open up here my task manager, and we can actually have a look at some of these processes which are being installed. And I'm actually already using some of those, so I'm going to drag that over here. And we have here the setup still running. So let me decrease that, and we can actually see that nicely. Okay, and you see here that I have all of these Apache servers available. Now, some of these are actually due to the WAMP server that I have installed. I also have Uniserver flying around somewhere that I use sometimes, but typically I use WAMP. And we see some of these actually have the little icons on the left here, and there, for instance, I have one from a WAMP Apache, Apache Scriptcase 9.7.3, Apache Scriptcase 9.8.1, and Apache Scriptcase 8.1. So you can see I have multiple versions of Scriptcase actually available on this computer. So it is possible to install multiple versions without any issues, and you can just pretty much see that they are running right there. Okay, so I will go ahead and close that then, and then we can finish and wait here for the setup/installation to complete, and then we can go ahead and log into Scriptcase for the very first time, as well as add the new license key, and then we can see the difference between a sample setup as well as the actual setup, and there isn't really that much difference. It's more or less just the sample title or information you receive on the applications, which of course, if you are wanting to develop applications and then generate them, that can be very frustrating. And to get by that, well, you need to buy a license. That is the only way. And of course, being a reseller, you can reach out to me and I can arrange that for you. And with that, you would then receive from me some personal support. I have some things in the work that I will also be providing to my special customers in that sense, as well as much more in the pipeline coming up. So do make sure you keep alerts on the channel. You check the channel every so often, because I do have a great deal of content coming just for you. Okay, so our setup is just over halfway there, and it shouldn't take much longer now, but of course we need to wait for it to complete. So let's just hang fire there, and we shall have that installed in the next few moments. And as we see, the unpacking of the files can take a few moments, of course, and this will also depend on your machine. Now, I do have an M2 drive in this computer, and it is installing to that M2 drive. So yes, that is a very fast drive, and this would generally be down to the decompression of all of the files. Okay, because we do download the installation as an exe file, which is also a compressed file. And of course, that will then decompress all of the files contained within that setup exe file. And then those are then decompressed and placed, or installed if you like to use that. I would say placed on the C drive, and then the various functions and features, they are then installed, allowing us then to start using Scriptcase on our operating system. Okay, and we are nearly there, 3/4 or just over 2/3 if you like, and it shouldn't be much longer now. And then Scriptcase will of course start up for us automatically. We don't have to worry about remembering that port number or anything. You will also have a shortcut placed onto your desktop, which you can use and quickly access Scriptcase, or of course use here the start button, and it will also be available there for you. And it's just taking a few more moments now, and we shall have a go where we will be launching the first, or new installation, should I say, because it's most definitely not my first installation. It is more like the 1000th installation already. It has been many years of using Scriptcase. So yes, I have had a few new PCs in the time. I have also installed Scriptcase on Linux boxes, as well as other hosting environments, so that myself as well as other clients can use Scriptcase. And that is of course then advisable. Okay, so we are nearly there. We have then the countdown. Shall I provide a countdown? 0, 1, 2. Well, that's actually counting up, isn't it? It's not really a countdown. But anyway, a few more seconds and our installation will be ready. Okay, and now maybe I can give a countdown. 3, 2, 1, and we are there. Yes, there we go. Installation has just about completed now. We're right at the end, and we're just installing the last shortcuts and so forth here for Scriptcase within the Windows Quick Launch bar, as well as on the desktop. Okay, so you do not see my icons here because this is my second screen, so I do apologize. But Scriptcase has, in fact, placed an icon so that I can access it. And I can drag that over here and you can see that. And there we go. There it is. And you can see then that I have an icon there. Okay, so I'm going to place it back to where it was. And just like that, we are now creating the uninstaller and we are now ready. So we can now click the Finish button, but you may want to uncheck here the README or even open Scriptcase. If you do not want to start developing straight away, then you do not need to do that. So I will go ahead and click Finish. And then Scriptcase will automatically open here the login page for me. And notice that we have here the port that is being used. Okay, so now that Scriptcase is ready for us and we have the login page, and do notice at the bottom here, it says to access for the first time, please use admin. And that is the default username password for the development environment. And note also, your trial will expire in 20 days. Ouch. Okay, 20 days is not really very long to create anything, in my opinion. But of course, in some cases, I think it would give you enough time to review what Scriptcase is all about, make something simple or maybe even a little more advanced, because in 20 days, you can create some crazy platforms. Okay, so we have here the option to keep me logged in as well as to recover a password. Now for the password recovery, it is important that we have the email sets. It is important that we have the email settings applied. So right now, this will not work, okay? It will in fact work, but it will send an email which will not be sent. And of course, I would not receive a password. So ideally, you either keep the admin, especially if you're developing locally, it's not really a problem. But of course, if you are deploying Scriptcase to a remote server, then maybe you will want to change the username as well as the password. Okay, so I will log in for now. And there we have there the first check that just appeared, and we have our initial welcome message. Now on start, my firewall also tells me we have some outbound traffic for PHP. I will just allow that rule and remember it so that the environment works beautifully. And there was, of course, the outgoing conversation which we just had, which was then directly to Scriptcase, which of course I could type hello here to Jader Silva and say hello, or even ask any questions. So if you have any questions about Scriptcase, you can go ahead and ask right here within this demonstration, and you will of course have a reply. Okay, so as it says here, anytime we can access the chat inside Scriptcase for questions, and we also have here remote access service where somebody from Scriptcase will remotely access your Scriptcase. And of course, I don't know what they would do, to be honest, because I have never used it. Okay, but of course you have some exclusive attendance there that you can book and access. Okay, now these options are typically only available during this trial period. Okay, so after your trial period, you will not be able to ask questions randomly anymore. You will not be able to just create tickets and get support. Okay, the way around that is if you have your platform, install a trial separately and then ask your questions via the trial if you need to. Otherwise, you will have to do the same as the rest of us, purchase some support tickets and ask for support that way. Or of course, you can ask me. That's what I'm there for. Okay, so now that we have our Scriptcase interface and it looks great, lovely and clean, how amazing is that? We have many views and many options here to play with, but I will not be showing you those today, I'm afraid. I will create a separate video for that. Okay, so now that we are ready, I could go ahead up here to the admin section where it says admin. This is my username and password. It tells me here the license information, that it is licensed as a demo. We have here the version number, the product, how many connections I can use for this license, as well as the expiration and my serial number, which of course I will be hiding out so that you don't see it. From here, I can also access my Scriptcase panel, which is where I would then have the license key available, and I can then use it or re-request it or regenerate it if need be. Okay, so before I go ahead and add the new license key, let's just quickly have a look here at the options, because before I start using Scriptcase, I really want to configure it for me, not for anyone else. So I will come here to options and then my Scriptcase. And then here I can specify my language. First of all, this will always be my language. I have then the option to enable or disable the security as well as the password. Okay, and these are features within the development environment. So if you generate your security, your login pages and everything, all of your applications will essentially be locked. Okay, and then when you try to run those, it will tell you security, hello, you need to log in. And of course, as a developer, doing those actions all the time, well, it's time consuming, it can get frustrating. And just for those reasons, we have here these two checkboxes. So we can uncheck those, and that will not disable security, but disable it. Yes, I know that sounds confusing, but the security is still enabled for your platform. There is no doubt about that. Okay, so when you go to deploy your platform, the security will work. But now within the development environment, so here within Scriptcase, you may not want to have security enabled or the password, so that you can go ahead with your development without any headaches, without having to log in, and of course saving you some time. You will of course have various options within Scriptcase which are available, where you can also again adjust the security if need be. Again, that will be another video. So below the security resources, we have some initial information. I can actually enable or disable these if I wanted to. For instance, I can add here the date and time of creation of my applications, as well as when they were last updated. By default, we just have the creator, date, time of the generation, as well as the generation status. So I will go ahead and click all and display all of them. It's always good, but the creation I will move up here in front of the creator, and the date and time update will actually have that, leave that where it is here after the generation. So then we also have here the option to show friendly URL. And that will then allow us to use basic URLs within our application, or shows them essentially. Now within the development, that is entirely up to you. You can have it enabled, you can have it disabled. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Okay, so then below that we have various menu options. The autosave, I want to enable this because having the autosave can be a savior, and at the same time switching from application to application, it will save me having a pop-up message saying, hey, you didn't save. In this case, it will just automatically save for me. I have some other options here for the subfolders, the execution of applications, the multi-step forms, and so forth. Now, all of these, I will just leave them as they are. We can leave them. It doesn't really, it's just notifications and alerts and so forth, which can, of course, be a lifesaver in some occasions. So I will leave those and click Save. Okay, so because I've made changes to how Scriptcase works here within my Scriptcase, it is telling me that I need to log out and log back in again, or I can do it later, which I will do. Okay, so next time I log in, all of my options that I've configured here will then be enabled. I will then close my Scriptcase option, and then we can just check out here these settings. Now, because I've just installed, these settings and everything are going to be set to the default levels, of course, and here I can make various adjustments. For instance, I was saying previously about the email sending for the password on the login page of Scriptcase. Here is where you would then configure your SMTP server, the port, the connection, and so forth. Now, if you do change your username and password, I would highly advise you to add these details. That way, if you do lose your password, the forget your password link on the login page will help you. Otherwise, you will be down in the dumps, let's say, okay? Because you will not be able to log into your Scriptcase no more. Recovery is very difficult from that stage. So yes, highly advisable. Add your details in here before you change the username and password from those default values. Okay. Now at the bottom here, we have some various options for the session. Now you can use the session in the database if you like. Sometimes I like to do that. We also have here options for the wizard, passing PHP variables in the session ID or in the URL, as well as the foreign key improvements. Now I will set here the time zone again, okay, because that is really wanted for when I come to develop my applications, especially when I use the date time features. Okay, so now I have set that, I can go ahead and update, and then the values will be stored. Now I do have various other options here for default values. Do check them out. They're the default values for typical applications. You also have system folders here. You can change the path of your system folders. So for the development environment, okay, not your project. This is for the Scriptcase environment itself. Okay, so you can change here where the images go, where the cache is, where the documents folder is, the configuration folder path, and so forth. Okay, if you need different paths, you can change them there very easily. We then have the option here for projects, and as because I have no projects created yet, well, it's empty, of course. So let's continue. We have then here also the security type. Now, if you are using an LDAP server, you may want to enable LDAP here, and that will, of course, allow you then to authenticate with that server. Alternatively, Scriptcase is what you would use. You have then here the option to manage users, groups, and again, groups/users. I just need users. It's only me using this platform, nobody else, so I can leave that as it is. Then below the security type, I have then here the option to add further users. So if I have a multi-license, so checking up here on my license details, the concurrent connections, it says 1. If I am able to have 2 or 3 seats, then I could add more users here. In fact, I can add more users now if I wanted to, but then only 1 user at a time will be able to use the development environment unless I have a license that enables 2, 3, 4, 5 users. Okay, so checking here the services, we have the online, and here is who is online, okay? The backup allows us to back up the entire Scriptcase environment, which is a godsend. Make sure you do this every so often. It is just helpful, okay? You have then also restoration options, so you can recover from your backups. Below that, you have the configure log, so you can actually manage how the log works within Scriptcase. And to view the log, we just choose here, view log, and then we will have all the log information. Of course, I've just logged in, it's a new setup, the log is going to be minimal. Clicking here on update, I can update Scriptcase straight away. Now I know I've just installed Scriptcase and it is a fresh installation, but I am still now going to go ahead and click the update button. Even though I have no notifications, there's nothing telling me, hey, there are updates, which Scriptcase will do. Okay, but sometimes there are still minor updates which are available, just not notified yet. And of course, we can click that button, and if they are available, Scriptcase will fetch them for us. Now, in some cases, that may resolve an issue you were having already. It may even provide a new feature or something along those lines. Ideally, of course, you would wait for the information to come out and say, yes, here is a new update today. But without the information, as we see here, I have 219 updates that can be applied. And remember, I have no notification, fresh installation. So I will go ahead and download and install those updates, making sure that my Scriptcase environment is bang up to date. And of course, I will have to log out and log back in again. And do note that my changes that I had applied would now also be applied with my login. Okay, so we had a couple options there left to check out here in options, and that was here for the online registration. And of course, I now want to register my fresh copy of Scriptcase. So here I will add my username. I don't know what my password is, so I will have to grab that from my password manager. So I will just log in there very quickly, and then I can get my password. Okay, so now that I have my password, I will paste that in there, and then I'll also need my new serial number. So let me dig that up also, and then I can paste that in there, which is not correct. So let me make sure it copies correctly. And there we go. Okay, so now I have entered my username and my password for the Scriptcase.net panel, okay, because we need to register there. And then we will have our cereals available, or our serial number, should I say, not our breakfast cereals, but our serial number will be available there. And then we can also re-request that or generate a new serial if we are moving from one server to another or another machine or however. So now I'm ready. I'll just go ahead and click register. Now hopefully Scriptcase, there we go, registered straight away, which is awesome. And I just then need to click OK. And now our message here is gone, and I can go ahead and enter my username and password and log in. Now I no longer have any of those messages saying that I cannot, it is just a sample. And when I come to generate applications now, they will also not have that sample watermark that is available on all of the applications. Okay, so the Scriptcase environment is now pretty much ready, all good to go. So I think that is it for today's video. But before we go, there was one important step there that in some cases you may need to apply. So you had seen just now that I had gone ahead and applied my online registration. In some cases, the online registration may fail. That could be because of the connection or because of whatever other reason that you can really think of, because there are really many. And in those cases, Scriptcase will come back to you and it will say, please continue with an offline registration. Okay, so for that, we come here to the offline request. We would add our username and password in here, as well as the serial number that we have. We then click here the request button, and it will then give me a link. Okay, with that link, I can then go back to the Scriptcase website, and that will then provide me the file that I need to add here. And that will then allow me to continue with an offline registration for the Scriptcase installation. Okay, so just in case you get stuck at some point with the online registration, the offline request/registration is available there, and it will solve the issue with that. And of course, if there are any other problems, that is what support is there for. Okay, so I think that is about it for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed this installation of Scriptcase. And of course, I'm going to go now and start developing within my fresh, clean version of Scriptcase. So thank you very much for watching. Be sure to follow, subscribe, join my newsletter. There are discounts there awaiting. Join my newsletter. There are discounts there and some upcoming great features for those who choose to go with the membership that I have available on my store. But for that, again, it is another video. Okay, so for now, ta-da. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, and until the next time.